Hi, I'm Pete Blackshaw with Cintrifuse, and we are absolutely convinced that gamification or game mechanics is the key to unlocking breakthrough innovation. And so we wanted to share a bit of inspiration with you from one of our most trusted partners, Glenn Platt, who's one of the world's most renowned gamification experts, and he's also a professor at Miami. We pulled together some fantastic clips from a webinar we recently conducted that our Director of Innovation Services, Alisa Smith, moderated.
What Bartle did was he looked at people who play like World of Warcraft, like serious games, right? And he noticed there were these 4 different types of categories. People who are motivated by achievement, which is the achiever, right? The explorer, the socializer, and the killer. And so what I'm always fascinated by is how you see the percentages on this slide are gamers. Only 1% of gamers are killers. I did something like this in a corporate setting recently, and we had a massive percentage of killers. Now, killers don't mean you're a psychopath. What killers mean is that you are all about beating the other person, not just being ranked on the board, which is what an achiever wants. It's beating somebody else. That's the killer. Right? Healthcare is the elephant in the room when it comes to gamification. They are huge. So it is well north of a $20 billion industry at this point. If you've got a Fitbit, if you've got an Apple Watch that's tracking your blood pressure or tracking your pulse, or you've got an EKG app that you touch your fingers to twice a day. All of these things are part of the healthcare gamification world. And that gamified healthcare, it's more fun. It puts a little spin on enjoyment around what we do. There was this meta-analysis of 38 studies of game mechanics and how effective they were for teaching people things. And across the entire set of all of this research, people learn things better when they're learning them through gamification, and they're learning them through some type of game-like experience, an experience that uses game mechanics. So what this study from 2015 shows is that companies that use gamification have more revenue, bigger deal sizes, right? They have better conversions from their lead. By 2025, 3/4 of the workforce are going to be millennials. And Gen Z and Gen Alpha, they grew up on games. You need to think about the language of games as localization, right? This is the language of games, and this language is localization for this generation. And so if you are going to be building things that speak to millennials and Gen Z and Gen Alpha, speaking the language of gamification is going to be the most natural way to have that conversation. But let's not totally write off other generations. This is a study from AARP that came out in December, and the numbers are both surprising and compelling, right? 50 and over adults play video games an average of 5 hours a week. 49% of women over the age of 50 play games, and they play them for both entertainment and health reasons. So the language of gamification isn't just for young people, it's for everyone, right? Everybody is a gamer. The big mistake everybody makes in gamification is, oh, we're going to build a game, and so we're going to do what's called PBL gamification, points, badges, and leaderboards. And that is a trap, right? That is not gamification. Just because there are points, just because you're going to have some sort of ranking leaderboard, doesn't make it a successful piece of gamification. And so don't be lured into that. Ground your gamification strategy in what we know to be true from the research in this space. Daniel Pink has done a lot of work that I'm guessing most of you are familiar with around extrinsic and intrinsic motivation. And, not surprisingly, it turns out that rewards don't actually work particularly effectively. And that what really motivates people is mastery, autonomy, and purpose. And so as you build gamified experiences, are you driving people to a sense that they are awesome, mastery? Are you giving them control over their destiny, right? Autonomy, and purpose. Am I doing something that means something? DJ Fogg, his approach to those same things around mastery and skill are talking about them as motivation and ability. That if you're going to use gamification to get people to do things, which is what he calls the trigger, that trigger needs to play off of people's motivation to do that thing and their ability to do that thing. And so if people are highly motivated, but are low ability, right, you can get past that threshold line that you're seeing there. But if you start dropping down in motivation and low ability, or when I say low, it's meaning it's hard to do, it no longer is effective. Someone does it right, you're not motivated, and it's super hard. These 6 qualities are a good starting point, right? So number 1, I mentioned this earlier, epic meaning. Best gamified experiences are meaningful gamified experiences. Like Wikipedia is the ultimate example of that. Wikipedia, people put hours and hours and hours and hours into it for free, and they do it because of the epic meaning, right? They do it because they are arbiters of truth, like it or not, right? Epic meaning. The second thing that works well with gamification is narrative, is a story. People like stories, and Pete can tell you this until the cows come home, that marketing is storytelling. Storytelling is critical to what we do, and storytelling is woven into our DNA. And so if you can build story into your gamified experience, it works better. Zombies Run is this app that you can put on when you go jogging, and it's a game you play where zombies are chasing you, right? So you've got this narrative as you're running that you are trying to keep from being eaten by flesh-eating zombies. There's the progress effect that we already talked about for LinkedIn. There's feedback that a good gamified experience gives you. So Forest is an app that these trees will grow as long as your phone is being put down. And the minute you start using your phone, you will your trees start dying. So you're getting this kind of direct feedback. The idea is to try to break our, addiction here, right? And Forest is an app that helps you do that. Ludic loops are this idea of giving people a gamified goal that's just outside their reach. So Uber drivers get this. If any of you have been or talked to Uber drivers, when you're about to sign out of being on your shift on Uber always, or nearly always, gives you a prompt to say, hey, look, if you just stay on the clock for another hour, you're going to get this bonus. That's a ludic loop, right? Pulling you a little bit close and then just hang in a little bit longer. That's an effective game mechanic. And lastly, achievements, badges, and leaderboards. And I know I told you that PBL stuff is a trap. It's not a trap in the sense that they're not good. It's just a trap if that's what you start with. And I'm going to talk about Peloton in a little bit, who I think is the most brilliant gamified experience on the planet. And they brilliantly use achievements, badges, and leaderboards. Look, first and foremost, go to the fundamentals. People who say, I need to build a game are beginning at the wrong place, right? You don't want to reverse engineer this. Start with your goals, your audience, and your customer journey. Begin with that. And then identify the points in that journey where you want to change behavior. Because again, gamification is about behavior change. Once you identify that point where you're trying to change behavior, figure out the goals, the rules, the feedback system, make sure that it's voluntary. Just some gut checks here, like make sure you're covering legal and privacy and GDPR issues. Make sure you're not assuming everybody's got a super smartphone. Be careful of cultural assumptions. Build an onboarding process. Like you need to slowly build a process to get people into a game. You ask yourself if you are doing autonomy, mastery, and purpose. If you're not pointing into those 3 Daniel Pink motivators, it's not going to work, right? So are you creating epic meaning? Are you integrating this with other things in their life? The Peloton thing is cool. It's a fun gadget for me, but the real meaningful piece of it is I'm losing weight. I'm getting stronger. It's good for my heart, right? If you're not tapping into those ultimately the punchline, those meaningful aspects, it's a hard pitch, right? I mentioned this earlier about technology tail wagging the dog. If punch cards are what works, use punch cards. Always test things, right? And always iterate around them as you do them.
Again, we do have a gamification workshop
Thank you so
that
much,
we
Glenn. This was really great.
provide.